New at 10 tonight, it's no secret. This has been a banner year when it comes to snowfall.
It's certainly great news for our drought, our snowpack, and for skiers and snowboarders, but does it also mean we're in for some nasty spring flooding?
Our Lincoln Graves live for us tonight. Lincoln, what are the experts saying about all this?
Yeah, Mark and Heidi, it is kind of complicated. We certainly don't know for sure what will happen, but there are some parallels between this year and 1983. That is when City Creek here, with very little water in it right now, actually overflowed its banks and turned downtown streets into rivers. When a record snowstorm buried Draper's Suncrest neighborhood last month, John Flynt spent hours digging out. Was this the most snow he'd ever seen where he lived? He thought back to a time of flooding to remember.
We haven't had snow up here like this since probably the 2010, 2011, the winter that it snowed really bad, that we got all the flooding afterwards.
It's been another epic snow year with a very healthy snowpack. Does that mean flooding this year?
At some point, when we get in the spring months, that's all going to be melting and coming down into our creeks and rivers.
Glenn Merrill with the National Weather Service says how that snowpack comes down is all dependent on weather. A consistent, gradual warm-up through spring is ideal. A cool, wet spring that lasts into May is not.
Then we have an exceptionally robust snowpack, well above normal. And then all of a sudden we flip the switch and we go from a continuation of winter straight into summer.
Meaning lots of snow melts very quickly. It's the scenario that led to historic flooding in 1983. Water inundated many areas, but Utahns really remember downtown when sandbags lined city streets.
And it was like rivers running downtown. It was incredibly weird.
And then in the spring, it was just crazy. There were people fishing like on Main Street. I think it was Main Street or State Street, one of the two. There's so much water, like people were catching trout.
The big image in downtown Salt Lake was the river basically going down State Street.
Wade Matthews is a spokesperson for the Utah Division of Emergency Management. Spring flooding this year is definitely on the radar.
We have already had meetings with with local level emergency managers.
Each community faces different risks and challenges, but the state oversees coordination efforts.
We're coordinating and gathering information about sandbags, the numbers of sandbags that we have in the state.
It's too soon to say what will happen, but the parallels between 1983 and 2023 are there. Those who remember the floods also remember the snow.
Lots of snow, going skiing and having to they had to dig down to the ticket booths. Instead of up the stairs, you had to go down.
And that particular winter, 82, 83, was significant.
We might escape a worst case scenario. Experts say we can deal with our impressive snowpack melting just as long as it melts gradually.
It's not about how much we have as much as how it comes down and when that flip switches to the heat.
And emergency managers say everyone really needs to be prepared for possible flooding. They note that 12 of the past 15 presidential disaster declarations for Utah were for flooding. And they say these warnings are for people who don't necessarily live in floodplains or even those who haven't experienced flooding before. It can really happen anywhere on a localized level. Live in Salt Lake City, Lincoln Graves, KUTV 2 News.